for checking out the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH and Parrot Media platforms. I'm Bubba O'Neil. Folks, you know the drill, but if you don't, Southern Ontario is the place you want to be for successful teams, executives, and in today's case, a huge man who's represented Hamilton and who also made a big impact for football at all levels in this country. Well, this hulking offensive lineman who stands at 6'8" spent 7 of his near record 19 seasons and 321 games wearing the black and gold. Miles Gorrell was a member of the Ticats 1986 Grey Cup winning squad and was a 5-time Eastern All-Star. Following retirement, he was rightfully inducted to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. He was the class of 2013. Folks, not only was Gorrell a force on the field, he was outstanding in the community. Just one of the reasons why Gorrell will become the 30th inductee under the Wall of Honour, the highest individual recognition a Tiger Cats alumnus can receive. Let's bring in the man. Thanks for joining us, partner. Look at the big smile on you. You're looking good. You're looking good.
Thanks, Bubba. I appreciate it. You know, Hamilton has been a part of my life for a long time, and it's an honor to be on CHCH TV and an honor to be on your show. And, you know, the Ticats are doing good, so we're pretty happy.
We all are happy. Hey, when I say this, I'll start with this. You know, there's Hollywood Walks of Fame. And really, what you are going into and having your name forever on the stadium, what does that feel like to you?
It's an honor beyond what you can actually express in my world. You know, like, I didn't play football to be recognized. I played football for fun and enjoyment, and certainly wasn't for the money. But, you know, the CFL has been a big part of my life. You know, I started off in Edmonton as a member of the Edmonton Knothole Gang, you know, 200 kids in an end zone, and my dad used to take me to games. And to be able to go forward to, you know, 65 years later, having my name up on the wall with some awesome people and, you know, like
the best of the best.
The best of the best, and guys that I watched growing up, and Angelo Mosca, who became a friend over the years, you know, and guys I went to school with at, you know, university, Rocky DiPietro, and you know, the one of the greatest kickers in the world, Paul Balderson, and, you know, my friends Grover Covington and Mike Walker, and it's just such an honor to be mentioned in the same breath as these gentlemen. And it's, you know, Ben Zambiazzi, it's you know, I've one scar on my body that I can remember every little thing about it occurring at Hamilton Stadium when I was a member of a different team, and Ben hit me with everything he had, and my chin strap slit through my chin, and he couldn't believe I came back out to play. And I was like, well, it's like this, you know, in those days you took more than that to put anybody out of a game. Ben is one of my favorite human beings of all time, and a great player. And I just got the chance to play with a lot of great guys, you know, and my own old lineman contemporaries, Jason Riley, Ralph Schultz. Been on the show, you know, Ralph Schultz, Dale Sanderson, Brian Hutchings, Daryl Harley. I mean, these guys are my guys, and I still see them. They come to games, and it's just a lot of fun. And, you know, as we talked about earlier, John Salavantis, not only a coach, but a mentor and somebody who I looked up to for a very long time. We've been friends for a long time, and I still get together with these guys, still have a beer with them, still have a coffee with them. It's just, Hamilton Ticats gave me a lot of friendship, and it still does. You know, having season tickets, I get to sit in the stands with the real fans, the guys that love and breathe and die for the Hamilton Ticats. And it's just enjoyable to be a part of that and to have my name so you can see it. My children, my 2 adult daughters and their respective husbands are coming to the game, and it's so cool to see your name. Just the thought of it up there with John Barrow and Angelo Moscow and all the aforementioned Ticats over the years. It's Garney Henley, you know. It's just amazing to be able to be honored like that, and the storied Ticat franchise, and I like being synonymous with the black and gold and how tough everybody was. And we're not talking any weak sisters here. These guys were all true men and played the game the way I believe it should have been played. And to this day, you know, I'm so honored to be a Ticat memory. And it's going to be fun to be able to come and sit my season tickets and go, hey, look at that. That's my name up there. You know, like.
Well, you can tell the kids, hey, Dad was pretty good.
You know,
That was all right.
I got married late in life, had children late in life, so they didn't really get a chance unless they go on YouTube like I do down the rabbit hole once in a while. But, you know, like I still talk to all my friends, you know, that I played with. And it gave me, you know, football gave me most of what I have. You know, if it hadn't been for Hamilton, you know, where would I be today? Because, you know, I was cut by Montreal, picked up by Hamilton. You know, Al Bruno was great to me, and the rest is history. Mike Kerrigan was a great quarterback. I got to hang out more with Rocky, you know, who's been a friend for 50 years. You know, this year we have our 50th anniversary of our Vanier Cup win in Ottawa, you know, in 1975, and there's a lot of great Ticats on that team, you know. Neil Lumsden was part of that team, Al Moffat, myself, Rocky. There's, you know, I could name several more, but nobody remembered their names. They didn't play very long, but.
You know, I won't go all the way back. All the way back to when you were maybe 3'8".
Do we remember that time?
Can we go that far back?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, did you want to be a football player? What was what was a 12-year-old Miles Gorrell thinking?
I wanted to be a cowboy. You know, all I wanted to do was ride horse, be a cowboy, and be a farmer or a cowboy. And they wouldn't let me play football because, you know, they had weight and height restrictions, you know, at 14. And I was a little beyond that.
You were big at that time, too?
Not big, but I was too big to play in the Pee Wee football leagues because, you know, you could only be 150 pounds. And, you know, at 14, I thought I was going to be an NHL player. But
really? Okay.
But, you know, growth and, you know, want to. And I got very fortunate. I had some good friends that played junior football in Calgary for a team called the Mohawks, and they made me go out. Mom and Dad had moved to Ottawa when I was living in Calgary, and my dad worked in the government, and they moved to Ottawa, and I wasn't going to Ottawa after grade 12. I played junior football, and, you know, it was different. And one day I woke up and said, manual labor is not the president of Mexico. I'm going to go to university. And I took my tail and went between my legs and I went home to Ottawa. Mm-hmm. Mom and Dad allowed me to go to university, and Ottawa U was very good to me. And I got to meet like Rocky and Neil. And, you know, it's been a wonderful life the last 50 years of playing football.
Okay, so you win a Vanier Cup, right? I mean, that could be for many. In fact, most. That could be the pinnacle of an outstanding football career dating back into your youth. And many go on to their whatever profession. You continue that dream. I believe Calgary was where it all starts.
It all started, yeah.
So, again, how hard was it to make that transition from the university ball to now saying, this is now my paid job?
Paid job. I was making $450 a week playing every special team and starting on the offensive line, taking home $450 a week. I loved the locker room. I loved the whole idea of hanging out. And, you know, did a lot of things over my career, over my whole entire life in football. Met so many wonderful people, and, you know, a lot of people that, you know, but I got friends all over Canada and the United States, and I talked to them all. You know, to this day, you know, I got friends from Montreal, Doug Scott, Carm Cartieri, who was a Ticat and an all-star here. Carm lives in Regina. He's the king of Regina, and I still talk to him all the time. J.T. Hay was a great kicker in Calgary, and, you know, many stories, and Rocky and Doug Scott and Montreal. I just got all these friends all over Canada. I love talking to them. The phone is a great way to communicate and stay in touch. And, still to this day, Earl Winfield, we talk by thumb once a year at least, maybe twice. Howard Fields, I talked to Mike Walker the other day. It's given me my friendships from my whole year. So did I know I was going to play football as a 12-year-old? No. As a 17-year-old, no. When I got drafted, it was like this. I want to play 7 years. I want to get to 30, play 7 years. But then the money started getting a little bit better. And, it was the trials and tribulations and going to the Grey Cup in 86 and getting to introduce my dad to all his heroes like Jackie Parker and Ronnie Lancaster, guys because my dad was a season ticket holder in Edmonton and he loved going to games. And did he ever play football? No. My dad was 6 feet tall, and when he got married he was 145 pounds. And my mom was 5'10" and about 110.
Where'd this height come from?
I think that it's just a culmination of, good living, good clean air of Alberta. And, I got a brother that's barely 6 feet tall. I got two sisters that are 5'5" and 5'6".
Wow.
And then there's me, and, mind you, I have a daughter that's 6'2" and one that's 5'5".
Oh, wow.
So, it's a gene thing. It's a gene thing. I got some really good genes from mom and dad. And, you look at that and you go, is this really, my kids, and everybody asked after I had two girls, they go, so you're going to try for a boy? Because, I go, no, I wanted two children. I got two great girls. I got them good. Nice. And one of these days, in the next few days, because my daughter was due on Saturday, I'm going to be a grandfather.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. And my daughter, Veronica, and her husband, Chad, are going to give me a grandson. And I'm so excited to be able to have a grandson. And I'm excited as a senior that I'm going to have to get to play with, this little boy. And it's wonderful, it's these things that happen to you, like being
able to be a parent without consequence.
You get to be an OP, other parents. Oh, sorry, got to give smelly diaper. Smelly diaper, you go take care of it, and I'm really looking forward to it, and it should be, be able to take them to football games, and do I want them to play football? Yeah. Do I want them to enjoy football? Yes. My daughter, both my daughters love the sport of football, and they're both married to guys who love sports, and it's great. And it's football's been very, very good to me, and it's still providing plenty of entertainment. My wife's a huge football fan.
Love it.
And we watch every football game that comes on TV. It's sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but we're huge CFL fans and enjoy every minute of it.
Laura, can we bring up the career board, please? I want to just ask a couple questions about some of the things you did here. I mean, okay, so we look at Calgary, and then there's the 1 year in Ottawa. Concord, the Concord, we were playing at the Big O at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
The Big O. Now, how did the move from Montreal to Hamilton, because you played for a long stint there with Hamilton. How did that happen?
I was released by Montreal because of inconsistent play. And, I got a phone call from Al Bruno saying, Miles, we'd like you to come down to Hamilton if that's possible. Mike McCarthy will be phoning you in a little while to make arrangements, and it's one of the greatest stories ever, So Mike phones me up and says, can you be on the plane tomorrow to come down for practice? Sure, I said, but Toronto's a long ways from Hamilton, who's going to pick me up? Because I don't know Mike McCarthy. I don't know any. He says, well, there'll be somebody there, but you're intelligent enough. If there's nobody there, just get on a bus or whatever and come to Hamilton. I'm, 30 years old, 29 years old. I'm pretty resourceful. I get there, there's nobody there. So, I just go out and find one of those, airport limousines, and I'm going to, I guess Ivor Wynne Stadium. $65 to get there, pay the money, Then for every time I see Mike, I go, "Where's my $65?" And this goes on for several years till Mike becomes the GM of Toronto, and I get traded to Winnipeg, and myself and Chris Walby are sitting in a bar in Toronto after the game, and Mike McCarthy walks in. Yeah, I look at him. It's 7 years later, 8 years later. I go, "Mike, where's my $65?" He turns around, and I lose him, and I don't care. It's just I love teasing him, and it's just fun now. $65, and he comes over with 2 pitchers of beer and says, "Will that pay the debt?" And I go, "We're good, no more." And I've not bugged him since 1992. I think I still laugh about it because it was a great story. $65 is nothing, but Mike paid his debt, and 2 pitchers of beer. I got him.
Took a decade, but that's okay.
Who cares when you pay the debt back? It's all about paying it back, whether you do it on time or over time, and it's paid. So I'm happy, and Mike's a good man. I like him.
Gosh, yes.
We had a lot of fun, and Mike got a few stories. Me and Paul and.
One of the best scouts out there ever.
Yeah, he was a good guy, and he knew what he was doing out there, and we had a lot of good guys in Hamilton, and we got back to the Grey Cup in '89, and we had a lot of fun, and we had some good players, and I'm still friends with so many of the guys that it's it's so many memories, like going to WWE at Exhibition Stadium with Grover. Grover and I are in the front row, right beside the mat, when Grover's so happy being at World Wrestling Federation, and like the guys are right beside us.
Well, you bring up Grover, the name, and it just pops into my head here, so I gotta go here. 1986, you guys have been knocking on the door for a Grey Cup victory, coming up short, and you are, I believe, a 500 team, and you're playing the powerhouse Edmonton Eskimos in BC Place.
Yep, 15-point underdogs.
15-point underdogs. What happened?
Grover, Mike, Ben, Paul Bennett, Leo, Rod Skillman, Dave Sutton, they all said we're not losing. Yeah, we're not losing. And, we came out of the hotel to go to the game, and I had a limo for me and Paul Bennett and Dan Huckluck and Ben Zambiazzi, who I rode with to every game early. I had a limo, $25 to get to the stadium. Cab was $20, so why not take a limo? And I go, you look good, you feel good, you play good. We went out there not to lose. We weren't losing. And Mike Kerrigan, he was on point that day. He knew who to throw to. Jelly Roll, Ron Ingram was flying down, Steve Stapler.
Stapler was unbelievable.
And, these guys were on fire that day, but our defense, 11 sacks. I never bring up the whole 86 Grey Cup team. One of my best friends is Matt Dunnigan. Mm-hmm. And so he doesn't wear his Grey Cup rings around me. I don't wear my Grey Cup rings around him. We don't ever talk about the 86 Grey Cup. It's fun, and, we absolutely crushed them. And one of my favorite memories of that game is I'm laying on top of our dear departed friend, Mr. Mandrich, and he's got a Nike swoosh into his head. He's got a mohawk. It's green painted. We're up 29-0, and I'm laying on top of him, and we just scored a touchdown. I go, "What's your mom think of your haircut now?" I'm 300 pounds. I'm laying on him. He ain't going anywhere. And it's like he's struggling to get out. And it's funny as hell on the TV screen because you can see him squirming. I'm not moving. Sorry, you can try and get 300 pounds off you. You ain't getting out from underneath it. But, years later, it was a beatdown. We won. We had the better team that day. They lost a lot of guys the week before in injuries and
doesn't matter.
Other things. We won the game. Mike Kerrigan was on fire. Ozzie had 6 field goals. It was like it was yesterday. I can remember just about every play, everything that happened. Our O-line was solid. It was, I think Walter Bender got hurt right in the beginning. Jed Tommy and Dan Huckluck took over, did the bulk of the running, and Mike just threw the ball to who needed to catch the ball, and we did the rest. We did enough to win, and 39-15. Almost 40 years later is just is fun to think about. And
when I look at the tapes, Mike Kerrigan was pretty. You guys did a good job. Mike Kerrigan was pretty clean that game.
Yeah, and was it a great game by a quarterback standard? No, but he did what he needed to do to win. We ran the ball well enough to win. We threw the ball well enough to win. Stats are a liar that day, but we had 11 sacks. So on two great quarterbacks, Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen. But, our defense played like they were possessed and they weren't going to lose. And everybody, like Leo had a fumble recovery. Ben had a fumble recovery. We just played to our potential. And it was a great game. And, we got memories. But what else do we have, Bubba, in our old age? What do we have? We got our memories. We got our scars. And we'd rather have the memories.
You got the good stories, too. As any sports career would have it, at one point, before we talk about retirement, their good times in Hamilton come to an end. And I believe you're off to Winnipeg?
Yes. And it's as you get older, you become more, inured to the whole thing. It's like you don't worry about it. And I get the phone call, you've been traded to Winnipeg. And you're like, my dad hated Winnipeg. He grew up there. He hated it. He didn't want to. He left for Alberta the day after he graduated from university. And, you're like this. I'm going to Winnipeg? Anyways, I get there, and they hold practice for me. And I practice one practice, and the next day we fly to Regina, and we play an exhibition game. I played the whole game and I never missed another play and never missed a game in Hamilton in 4 years. Then I came back to Hamilton to be reunited with John Sullivanis, and I would do anything for John.
Why did you retire?
I was 41.
Okay.
I signed back in Winnipeg in 1997. And it was going to be my 20th year, and I wanted to play, just all, nice and even. 19, when you turn 19, what are you? You're between 18 and between 20. So I wanted to play my 20th year, and so, but I'm a mouthpiece by then, I don't. So I had gotten married the winter before, and my beautiful wife, Suzanne, and so it was like, we're living in Winnipeg. Wanted to live in Winnipeg. And I went there, and they signed me, and I lost 45 pounds to go play. And I was just going to be the backup for my 20th year. And I'd go to the first practice, get my first check for $350 training camp pay. And, Reinbold calls me and says, we're going to cut you because you got osteoarthritis. I'm going, every 40-year-old in the world has got osteoarthritis, so tell me whatever you want. But anyways, that was the end, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And it was time to move on because I was 41 years old, and I had a child and a wife, and you have to make, decisions. And I wanted to play football, but, they didn't want me at the time. So you move on, right?
At least you have the confidence of knowing you gave it all. You won. You were an all-star. You would end up being inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. And as we talk about the Wall of Honour too, the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, I mean, we always talk about in the NFL and in the States putting on that yellow jacket or whatever, but you had your moment in your class too.
And the most fantastic thing about it, because it wasn't here in Hamilton, which I would have loved, but it was in Edmonton, where my family is. And I had 37 family members come to the Hall of Fame induction. 10, 12 of them were farmers. They're not rich by any standard, and they all came to see me. From my childhood, full circle to going in the Hall of Fame. And it was a lot of fun, and it was very enjoyable. And mom and dad are there, and your friends, and it's exciting. Your children are there, and they see, you get to be with them and enjoy these things. And so this whole thing about going on the Wall of Honor, it just shows you what your life can be like. And I got a daughter that's a lawyer, and I got a daughter who played NCAA sports for the highest level of volleyball, playing for Penn State. And you've done the right things. My wife and I raised our children, and you have to be proud of them, and that's how my parents raised us, and I really enjoy the whole thing that football has given me. I might have started out a little rocky. 3 teams in 11 days can sometimes tend to put you in that situation, being traded from Calgary to Ottawa, play 2 games, and get traded to Montreal. I played Winnipeg 3 times in a month. There are 3 different teams. Paul Bennett asked me, "Do you have a twin brother?" But you get through those and you grow, and
the business.
John Salavanis helped me grow, and as not only as a football player, but as a human being, and that's why I respect him so much, and am honored to still have him as my friend.
You guys went out for coffee before coming here.
I had to talk to John. John's been very good to me. And I like talking to friends.
I'll tell you, when he's on our pregame show, there's no one more enjoyable for me to discuss football with, and even life to some extent too. Yeah, I can understand why he was a mentor to you, and he's been a mentor to me in different ways. He is someone really, really special in this area. When you called it quits and you move on, and I guess in some ways life really does begin in some ways.
Yeah.
Why did you find it important to still be connected with football, but now in a teaching way?
I've always loved, like I said, I love the locker room, and I say that, but it's not the real locker room. I'm talking about the friendships you build and the people you deal with. You deal with everyday struggles. Everybody's, somebody's away from their family that really misses them, and you try and you help the younger guys, and you try and be around them. I was talking to Coach Sal about Chris Van Zel, the great offensive lineman, played here, and I still remember seeing him at McMaster, and being a D lineman, and saw a little young puppy Miles Gorrell there going, "You can play D-line all you want. You can be all-Canadian," because I know somebody else that was an all-Canadian D-lineman that went on to a 19-year career playing O-line in the CFL. And Chris said, "No way am I playing O-line." And, as life goes by, he'll be in the Hall of Fame as an O-lineman.
Absolutely.
Chris is, it's just stories like that you get to make important things. You impact people in different ways, and I've got lots of young kids. I say young, anybody under 40 is young, that still come up to me at games, and do you remember me? And I see them and they all remember me, and I'm glad that I made a little bit of an impact on their life and what they were doing. And I have fun. I enjoy people, and I enjoy talking to young people, especially football players. And I still do to this day.
You actually got in the booth as well too. You had a little media as well too.
Well, the media stuff. Chris Walby and I had our own radio show in Winnipeg, and then coming, I did the Montreal Machine in Montreal in the World League
football.
And then I came here and I got to do a few games with Bob Rettina, on Ticats, and then we did the McMaster game with Ted Michaels, and I love doing games with Ted. He's got such a infectious laugh and knowledge, and wants to get better every game. And it's been a big part of my life. Love McMaster. It's being able to go down there and be part of the team, it was great. And, when I bought my house in small town Ontario, who did I use as a real estate agent? My favorite receiver of all time at McMaster, Matt Parasini. Oh. I love Matt. He was so tough, 170 pounds. And he'd go downfield and block the crap out of you. And, I just love Matt. I just loved the way he played football. So I used him as my real estate agent. So
super stuff.
Oh,
when's your big night with the Ticats? It's coming up.
Okay, yes, it's coming up. August 6th is the dinner at Carmen's.
There will be jokes that night.
Oh, yes, there will be. And the game is on the 7th for the unveiling against the BC Lions. And we have a ton of friends coming to the game, coming from all over Canada. My sisters are coming in. And, it's so enjoyable to be able to share your accolades with your family and friends. And because I'd never made it there without them. My sisters and my brother mean a lot to me. And they pushed me to where, their actions helped me get to where I was. My wife, the last 30 years of my life have been awesome because, she gave me a purpose and somebody to share my life with, and gave me 2 wonderful children. And now I'm going to have a grandchild. So I'm all excited, I'm all worked up for this, My daughter's going, I'll have the baby when it comes. Don't worry about it. Come on, Grandpa, leave me alone. But, it's great. Life is great, Bubba. I couldn't ask for a better life, I got a life partner. I get to go to football games. I get to enjoy the people around. And it's in Hamilton where you're expected to be tough. And God forbid I am not tough. I'm a mush. I can't speak about my family without crying. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. I love my family. I love being here in Hamilton area because the people here are genuine. I go to the tailgate parties, and I go and I hang out with the Box J boys for a while, and then I hang out with my other friends that we sit with. And the Box J boys are awesome, because they're true fans. And This is what I love, we got this lawyer friend from Brantford who's been a season ticket holder, I think, since 86, 87 when he was 10 years old. And Al's just a great guy. And I got, so many friends that Rob and Alan, they just make me so happy that they're fans of the CFL.
That's why we got to end this drought. We got to end this drought.
99 to now is,
it's a long time.
It's a long time, and it's got to happen, and the things are coming. Kenny Lawler's amazing. And those catches last week every one of them was a highlight. And, to be able to watch that every week in and week out. And Bo Levi is getting, I think, better every week. And, the old line is starting to understand. And, everything's going good. And their defense is gelling at the right time.
Yes. Well, let me say this to you. It has been great to have you here on the Sportsline Podcast. I know there's going to be many people that watch and listen to this Sportsline Podcast that will have many memories of you, many memories of the Tiger Cats back in the day, and the great entertainment, the love, as you said, the follow, the passion that they feel had a lot to do with you. And I could sit here and say congratulations, but I'll say even more than that. I'll just say thank you. It's been great to have you, contribute to this city, contribute to the Tiger Cats, and to still have that passion, to still be out there, as you said, help the youth, hang out with the people that are your own age beyond, and to see you benefit with your family and stuff like that makes me feel great. And I know that anyone watching this podcast is cheering for you. So I can tell you, enjoy your night. Enjoy your night. It's going to be awesome.
Well, I will, Bubba, and I really want to thank the people of Hamilton for supporting the CFL and especially the Ticats. But as I tell everybody, I don't care what color you wear in the stands. You can be a Saskatchewan fan. As long as you cheer for the CFL, I'll be happy with you. You can cheer for whoever you want. You just be a fan of the CFL.
Appreciate your time, partner.
My pleasure, Bubba. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day, and you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline podcast, do want to hear from you. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button, and if you have something to say, we always appreciate your comments. For the outstanding people that make the Sportsline podcast possible, we thank you so very much, and we'll see you real soon.